beautiful, beautiful afternoon here at the Silverstone circuit, and well, what a day is it to be out here at the track, and for a brand new event as well. For the first time ever coming to you live here will be the first ever time attack here on iRacing. We've got us a good 52 cars of all walks of racing getting set to thunder to life here today, save for, of course, the good old dirt guys. But we've got club cars, we got open wheelers, we got vintage cars, stock cars, GTs, and more. Just about every type of road racing car you can think of coming out to play. The first of the cars up is going to be, of course, a car that many of you guys that might be watching could be familiar with, the Pontiac Solstice. Commonly known as one of the slowest cars you can find on the surface, and it will be the driver and the car setting the benchmark time for the remaining 52 drivers. We're going to be started somewhere, I would expect around the 125s. We're going to be finishing definitely with sub-minute lap times. The circuit is the Silverstone International layout, and you're going to get a fine view of it here as the Solstice lines up to the starting grid. The revs are gonna start to build, and we are underway for the first round of the time attack action here at Silverstone at the International layout. The Solstice, definitely a very, very lackluster start. Of course, the flamboyance of these starts will definitely grow as the car list rolls on. So through turn 1 for the first time today, and then up through turn number 2, the first braking zone at Village at turn 3. Solstice not very deep on the brakes, but very smooth on entry. Now we come in for the loop. Instead of circling up to where the national circuit is and where the GP would take you, we cut straight through right to the end of the Maggots and Beckett's complex to the hangar straight. And now it is a long run from here up to Stowe. And it is here that you'll be able to tell just how slow this Solstice is. Definitely not the fastest of machines. Already the next car is getting set to rumble away, and is now on the circuit completing their out lap, so they'll be coming through the hangar straight here shortly. Through Stowe, the first car for the first time today, down the hill of Vale, and now entering the final chicane here for the first time today. Keeping it off with the curves, which is good. Some cars you can sacrifice a bit on the curves, other cars not so much. Out through Club, back onto the Hamilton straight. And across the line, it's going to be a 131.234 to kick things off today. Now all we got to do is wait and see just what the other times will bring. The times will start to drop down fairly massively. Next up is the Mazda MX-5 Cup. This is the old 2010 edition, the Global Mazda MX-5 Cup. Not able to come out to play today, unfortunately. And just now through Club. Of course, all cars do start on a standing start to ensure absolute fairness with the complete still start off of the line. Bumping his way right up to the timing beams is the Mazda MX-5 Cup. Revs start to build. And we're off. Bit of smoke this time. Smoke at the rear wheels, but still one of the slower starts that we're going to be seeing on the day. And when we get to the likes of some of the open wheel cars, in particular some of the vintage cars, that's where things get real interesting right out of the line. Already up by about a quarter of a second through turn number 1. A lot of the time gained is going to come from the hangar straight. And of course right out of the gate as well. He's already up by about a second. Cornering speeds is about the same when they're running the same speed. They both have the same kind of downforce capacities. The real difference is, of course, in the aerodynamics and the power that these cars hold. Down the hangar straight for the second time today. And this is where things could potentially get interesting up here as well. It's up here into Stowe. It's a very difficult corner as you go up a rise, which helps you to brake, but then you go flying back down the hill into Vale. The mighty Miata, though, still doing a great job at keeping things steady on his run. Down on the brakes for the final chicane. Jumping over the curbs this time. The first driver to dare to venture over there. Mazda's going to come out through club, down the Hamilton straight. This will definitely be much faster than the Solstice already across the line. It's a 1:27.795, 3.4 seconds quicker than the Solstice. Magnificent run for the Miata, but it's still going to be towards the back end. Next up, the SCCA Spec Racer Ford. A car that typically only races in America, on the North American road courses out there. It's definitely more of a club car, but this is technically our first open cockpit car of the day. So, interesting little tip for you there. It's definitely not the fastest car, but I tell you what, there is definitely going to be more where that came from. Only 105 horsepower underneath that tube frame chassis there, with a 5-speed Ford gearbox. The engine itself is a 1.9 liter Ford engine as well, so still definitely not the fastest of cars, but it's a decent club car, and it's decent to learn the basics of road course racing. Top speed here of 135 miles an hour, expected to probably be hitting about 110, if that, down the hangar straight. Good off the line so far, about even here with the Miata, as to be expected. These cars do share very similar characteristics about them. Of course, the Mazda, I believe, is significantly heavier. This car only weighs 1,670 pounds, the Miata weighing in at a solid 2,600. So now in the run-up here to Stowe. So far, the Spec Racer Ford is up, but only just. This could be close between the Spec Racer Ford and the Miata. Oh, bit of a lockup there down into the braking zone, and that's going to cause us lose a lot of time there through the first part of that chicane. Now, will this still be enough to beat the Miata out through a club? It should be enough here still to get it beat and put himself up on top, and yes, it is. Top of the pylon for the Spec Racer Ford, about 4.5 tenths faster than the Miata with a 1:27.353. Next car up, I believe, will be the Volkswagen Jetta TDI Cup. Now darting its way down. This is a diesel-powered engine making 170 horsepower. It's a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder TDI diesel engine, creating about 280 pounds of torque, weighing in at just over 3,000 pounds. This is going to be one of the quietest cars on the day. It's a car that when you compare it with the other cars, even the old Miata and the Solstice, it barely makes a sound. The Volkswagen, off and away. Now, there is a Volkswagen Beetle for a rallycross car here on the service. None of the rallycross cars, though, are going to be making an appearance today. Potentially, if there is a second event, there could be a bigger range cars there. Maybe a different one, too. Some cars might swap it on out. Through turn 2. And already up on both the Spec Racer Ford and the Mazda Miata. It is making about as much horsepower as the Miata, but the diesel engine also means it's generated a bit more torque as well, giving it all the power it needs to rocket away on the straights in comparison. This car at some facilities is actually a good competitor for the Ford Mustang FR500S, which is going to be coming up here in just a couple of passes. But as we continue to watch, through Stowe, still no cars getting very flamboyant through here, no back end stepping out, and I wouldn't expect us to do so until we get to some of the more higher horsepower cars. So down on the brakes, right at the 100-meter braking board. kind of clattering the curves there at the entry to that chicane. Swinging a bit wide to miss the ones on the inside of the second chicane. Or second part of the chicane, excuse me. Out through club, across the line. It is going to be a 124.727, 2.6 seconds up from the SCCA Spec Racer Ford. And now comes our, the first of the cars that comes with a single-seater category. The Skip Barber Formula 2000. This is a car I am expected to get right to the top of the timing boards in a hurry here. Now, this is the first car you enter when you're trying to get into the open wheel side of road racing. It's not a very powerful little thing, only 132 horsepower, but considering that it only reaches a top speed of 135 miles an hour, this thing is still some good fun to drive. It's a perfect car to learn in as well. And now it is off and away. I would expect the Skip Barber to be able to beat the Jetta by at least a second and a half here. It is able to quarter a bit quicker thanks to the aerodynamics. That are much better aerodynamics around the car. You can already see it is quicker through turn 1 and 2. Back and stepping out just a tad on the brakes for 3 at Vale. Or excuse me, at Village. And into the loop we go. Back out onto the hangar straight, the longest straight on the course. Here for the international circuit at Silverstone. And now we start to ascend the hill to Stowe, where the car will the little car will stall out and twitches a little bit under the brakes there. You see the back end starting to come around just the smallest bit. It does help the car turn quicker when the back end starts to rotate a little bit. And now for that final chicane. Misses both curbs, which is good. You don't want to be hitting sausage curves in any open wheel car. It is going to come across the line. 2.6 seconds up. 2.2 seconds up, excuse me. On the Volkswagen Jetta TDI Cup 122.5. Muscle car time. The Ford Mustang FR500S. Going to be making its first appearance here in this little event here. 325 horsepower, so an almost 200 horsepower increase over some of the cars that we've been seeing earlier today. Over 200 for some. A lot of power under the hood of this car means that the rear-wheel drive monster has a tendency to get loose, so we could have expected this machine to start stepping the back end out. 4.6 liter V8 starts to rev it on up. Underway, and a cloud of wheel spin for the first time today for the Mustang as it launches off of the line on the Hamilton Straight. This time should be comparable with the Skip Barber Formula 2000. And after this, the lap times are going to be coming down drastically from here on out. Oh, getting a little bit loose already as we enter the loop. It's got to hang on to it, though. These tires are cold. These guys don't have a lot of time. They have one out lap and then one time lap. So they do not have long to get those tires warmed up. So those tires are still going to be cold, operating below the optimum temperature. It'll definitely be a big factor for some of the faster cars later on that rely on having up to temp tires. On the brakes for Stowe. Swinging around. No. Oh, a little bit of a twitch there again on the exit of Stowe. Now the big ticket will come here at the exit of this chicane. So deep on the brakes. Oh, jumps over the sausage curves there. And all four wheels, I think, lifted off. Still trying to hang on to it here. Now around the final corner. Oh, loses the back end and slides across the finish line. And will tag the wall as well. It's a 122.035, half a second up for the Skip Barber Formula 2000, but he wrecks in the process across the line. Take a look at this replay here. This was coming into that final chicane. Look at that. All four wheels up and off the ground. Lands pretty hard. Sparks fly from the underside of the car. The big hit, though, comes down onto the Hamilton straight. The back end starts coming a bit loose. I think it might have clipped that sausage curb there as well. And then back end just starts coming around. And he keeps his foot in it to try to make it across the line as quick as he can. And as soon as he's across, he's going to lock the brakes down to try to keep it out of the wall. But he's headed forward, and you ain't stopping. Tags it with the front, lifts off the brakes to try to rotate around, but then ends up backing back into the wall there. And now, with all that said and done, it is time for the touring cars to come out to play. The one and only touring car, the Audi RS3 LMS. Coming out to the front here. This car should easily go to the top of the timing boards. Bumps it into the starting line. Expect some front end wheel spin here. Bumps forward a little bit more. Kind of tempting fate there with the timing beams. Trying to figure something out of the car. Now the revs start to build. And a cloud of front end wheel spin, but not much. The touring car off and away, nice and clean. A lot of downforce on this car, and the front wheel drive nature does help it to corner significantly better than some of the other cars you might see in the field. It's not the only front wheel drive car you got out there, though. I believe the Volkswagen Jetta is also front wheel drive. The Kia Optima is also front wheel drive, but the Kia not making an appearance today. Down for Village. And rounded it up back through the loop. Pushing out wide there. Gotta watch that with front wheel drive. It's very, very easy to understeer off, but no drama so far for the touring car. It's doing a fantastic job running out there. Hopefully we'll have some more touring cars that can come around and give this guy a bit of a showing here for the next event, because good grief, we need a couple more touring cars on the service, Lord knows it. Stowe now. Nice and clean so far. I'm expecting no dramas here through the chicane. On the brakes, and he's going to get it turned in nicely there, missing both curves. Nicely done. Out through club. This is definitely going to beat the time here of the Mustang across the line. It will be a 1:17.758, 4.2 seconds quicker than the Mustang. Absolutely blitzed him. But no doubt, we're not done with blitzing things yet. Now, next up, the Ford GT GT2. As we start to enter more of the GT class. This is going to be the first really kind of quick car, relatively. Bumps it over the line, but the timing beam has not been set off yet. Means he is good to go. Cloud of smoke as the wheels spin, the rear wheels this time round. The Ford GT is off and away, and already about 3/4 of a second up from the touring car by the time it hits turn number 1. Down now through Village and into the loop. Steps the back end a little bit more as he turns his way onto the hangar straight. This Ford GT has a tendency to get really, really loose, especially under the brakes. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Especially as we come on down for that final chicane. That is where things can get really treacherous. Slowing again, but still steady in the Ford GT. Swinging out wide at the exit of Stowe. Now for the club chicane. Any dramas? Nothing quite. Oh, bit close. Oh, jumps over the curb, and I think that might have unsettled the car a bit more. Oh, hits him again there, and that definitely will have broken something on the underside of the car. Crosses the line, though, and blitzes the touring car's time by a solid 6.6 seconds, and he's going to pull it off into the turn 1 runoff. Something not happy on the car. Can't complete an in-lap. And this would be why. Look at that. He hit those curbs hard. Ramped up and over them, and then really pancaked down the left side of the machine and nearly lost it as well as jumped up again. Solid run, though, from the Ford GT2. Next, the Cadillac CTSV, the one and only Cadillac on the service. It runs in the Fanatec Global Challenge. Get set to kind of line things up here. Oh, and he is off. I thought at first he might not go, but he has launched. The Cadillac CTSV doing a phenomenal job out there at the moment. Down for turn number 1. It is getting set to set a new best here on the day. It has the potential of beating the Ford GT. Runs a little bit wider than I think it might have liked on the exit. Oh, look out, sliding now! And the run down to the hangar straight through the loop, but saves the car. And he's going to keep his foot in it here and try to see if he can salvage a time. It won't be enough, I don't think, to get a top time, but it could still be close. So now the Ford GT2 is ahead. The CTSV going to have to try to run him down here. No dramas through still. We're going to have to see if he can get this settled here for the club chicane. No dramas. Keeping out wide from the curbs, not wanting to make the car more unhappy than it is. Out through club onto the Hamilton straight across the line. A 111.6. Half a second, excuse me, behind the Ford GT. Now it's very bumpy going down there into the loop, but I think the bumps really unsettled the CTSV. You can see the car kind of bouncing around, and then he just overcorrects it, I think, and the car just loses it. He doesn't slam the brakes, though. I'll give him that. He lets the car slide because he knows there's a turn right there, and that actually really helped him out that corner was there. Otherwise, this would have been a lot worse, but as soon as he hits the tarmac, you see he turns the wheel back hard to the right to try to keep himself from overcorrecting. He will send a couple of cones flying here. But apart from that, he manages to save that car and come up with a still half respectable time as well. So, gonna move things on down, continuing in the GT1 class here to the Chevrolet Corvette C6.R GT1. Now this thing is a monster. It is one of the faster cars we got here. And I would not be surprised if we saw this thing finishing kind of up in the middle by the time this event ends. Kind of over the starting beams a bit, but again, as long as the beam has not been set off, you are fine. Off and away. This car has got a lot of power underneath it. It has some serious potential here to set a time that could stand for a while. 500 horsepower to be exact. The V8 engine underneath this machine going to go to work. Already significantly quicker than the Ford GT's time. Trying to get a run here onto the hangar straight. This is where it's going to be critical here. The top end speed of this car will definitely be what decides this time over the Ford GT2. And through Stowe. That rear wing nice and planted with the car, keeping it firm on the racetrack. Down into the club chicane, no dramas with the curb, so out through a club to the Hamilton straight. This is definitely going to beat the Ford GT's time. It's going to be a 1:07.682, 3.4 seconds quicker, and with that, 10 cars through. Let's take a rundown here on the top 10 so far in the running order for the official iRacing Time Attack event here at Silverstone. So, at the top of the timing boards, the Chevrolet Corvette C6.R GT1 sits on the pole so far. A solid 3.5 seconds back is the Ford GT2, followed by the Cadillac CTSV race car, the Audi RS3. LMS is in fourth with the Ford Mustang FR500S in fifth. The Skip Bar with Formula 2000 sits in sixth with the Volkswagen Jetta TDI Cup in seventh, the SCCA Spec Racer Ford in eighth, Mazda MX-5 Cup in ninth, and the Pontiac Solstice, the slowest car on the day, rounding out a solid 10th place with a 1:31.234. And still many more cars to go as well. and that is going to bring up the 11th runner now in this event, the Aston Martin DB9 GT1. Now, this car tends to be a lot more stable in the turns than the Corvette, so it wouldn't surprise me if we saw this car definitely threatening for the top spot on the timing boards. Lined up now with the timing pylons. The revs start to build, and now the car gets a solid launch. A little puff of wheel spin. The car almost stalls out, but we are now cleaned and away for the second portion now here of this time attack event for turn number 1. It's still a flat-out right-hander here, just about for the Aston Martin. Oh, big twitch there, though, through turn number 2 in the run-up to Village, but keeps it held as he slides it down through Village now and turning up through the loop. Gonna bomb it down the hangar straight now, back up towards Stowe. Flicking his way through so far, a little ways up on the Corvette, but I think the Corvette might just have him here all the same. Down for the club chicane. And he's gonna lock it up big time, sliding into the chicane, and the back end comes around and keeps the car running, but that is a disastrous run for the Aston Martin. He's going to have to keep it going here if he wants to salvage anything of this. He's going to bring it across the line for a 1:15.004. A disappointing run for the Aston Martin that all fell apart near the end. You can see as he gets on the brakes, the back end starts to break loose, and he slammed the brakes in reaction, kind of panic brake there, and that just causes a lock. But he's sliding sideways at this point, and right when he lifts out the brakes, since he's still on an angle, that's when the whole back end comes around, and there's just no saving it at that point. Very disappointing. Ended up just a little bit faster than the Audi by a couple seconds, but slower than other cars in the field. Let's take a look now at the V8 supercar. Now, this is quite an interesting one indeed. It's a Holden Commodore V8 supercar that races down in Australia, and it's a very quick launch, this one, not wanting to waste any time, it would seem, in the launch off of the line. So, good man for wanting to get right to it. This is where the fire-breathing monsters really start to come into play here. So, as the Aston Martin will sorry, not the Aston Martin, the Holden ZB Commodore V8 supercar throws its way now through Village, stepping the back end out. So difficult to control these cars are. They are definitely requiring a lot of wheel work and a lot of discipline in order to keep these things under wraps. Now, can this go ahead and beat out the Corvette? That is going to be the big question here. Don't think he's quite going to be able to. Through Stowe now. And I'll dive in his way through that last chicane. Got to get a good run up here. He's not going to beat the top time. It just now crosses, and he's going to throw it through a club here. Slide to the back and out across the line. It's about 4.5 seconds slower than your overall leader, and he spins it after the line as well, but manages to save it, and no damage on the car. Didn't damage his run all too much. Now, we get more into stock car territory, and first up is the Arca Menards Chevrolet Impala. Now, this car is a handful. Not so much as some of the other cars we'll be seeing later on, even soon here, like the Gander Outdoors truck, but a handful all the same. So, the first of the stock car breed, these guys are going to be no way close to the top running. And look at all the wheel spin, how far the wheels spin on this machine as it launches off of the line and now sprints down for that first corner, already braking heavily for the first turn as well to make sure that it doesn't go spearing off the track. Excuse me. 650 horsepower under the 3,300-pound machine. Still stepping the back end, really kicks it loose on the exit of Village down through the loop. Now he's able to open the taps here and get a massive drive all the way down the hangar straight. This is the fastest these cars will ever get, is down this stretch right here. But even now, this car not nearly as fast as it can go at some of the facilities that it races at down in the United States of America. Braking now for that last corner. A little bit of wheel hop almost as it dives its way in, keeping off the curbs. Nice and wise. And he's going to now come over across the line, stepping the back end out and twitching it as it crosses over. And that is going to settle it into a... trying to find the time here. A solid 1:18 to 0:57, slightly slower than the touring car by about 0.4 of a second. Next up is the late model, the Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS late model. This could potentially be the fastest, believe it or not, of the stock cars out there. It has a lot more grip in the corners and it's a lot more aerodynamically stable than those other machines as well. Really tempting fade there. Waiting to brake for that starting beam until way late. And it's a very clean launch too, no wheel spin at all from the late model either. So despite being built for short track racing, these road courses definitely race more like short tracks with the braking points than they do the ovals that you just have to lift and coast through for a lot of the stock cars. And this could be a fast run here by stock car standards. No modifieds out today. There was an attempt to get an SK modified out, but there was no dice on that one, so potentially the next time an event like this is run. Now throwing his way all the way down the hangar straight, braking hard. Presto in a huge, almost 4-tire lockup as he runs through his dough, clips the grass as well, a step in the back end out on the exit, but still holding very strong in the Monte Carlo late model. And deep on the brakes. We're not going to even bother comparing this to the top times. We'll compare this to the touring car, the fastest of the club cars that went out there. So he is going to be a little bit sideways here, out of the final corner and across the line. 0.3 quicker than the touring car. A 1:17.450. But that is still about a solid 3-4 seconds slower than the tech check. That's about 10 seconds slower than the Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Than the Chevrolet Corvette C6.R. I am all over the place right now. I do apologize. Next up, the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Toyota Tundra truck lined up and off and away. Now this is going to be a rough run here from this truck. It does not like this road course. It has been struggling so much with practice. It's been hard to string more than a couple of runs together without having it off somewhere. So expect a very difficult run out of the truck. It's not stable at all. They have not been able to get this thing dialed in. So you can see already just how twitchy it is all the way through this first section of the track. And already it is such a far way back. So far, a little bit more stable. I say that! Really sideways there, down for the loop, but somehow keeps it under control. Almost, but maybe not. He was so twitchy all the way through there. We've got to get another look at that after this run. Trying to do whatever he can. I think he's trying to beat the ARCA car, not so much the late model. The late model definitely already has it beat by a mile. And up through Stowe. No lockups like the late model did, but the late model was still significantly faster through there. This truck is being very conservative at the moment. It's going to have to be gutsy here on the exit of this chicane. Twitching again on the entry. Oh, bumps over the curbs. That's not what you want to do if you want to have a smooth run, so now off and starting to power slide for the final corner. Really sideways. Jumps over the curbs for the corner and trying to make it across the line. Spins after the line and goes hard into the wall on the right side of the racetrack. And, well, it's not going to be the run that the truck was hoping for sure. It's a 1:18.993. That's over a second slower than the touring car. The only cars slower than that truck right now are way down in the club class, at least 3 seconds back. So slowest of the average runners out there. I think it's safe to say. Not a good feeling at all. He's going to pull it off. Can't even make it back for a full cooldown lap. Take a look at this replay here, though. This was coming through the loops. Back end starts to go around. Truck shoots to the left. He immediately jerks it hard to the right. Look at how far he turns that wheel to the right to keep that truck going in a relatively straight line. That was legendary car control there. And not so much here. There's only so much you can do. The back end starts to snap away, and the truck shoots down through Club. He's going to hop over the curbing there. And when it comes down, he just gives it the boot, and that sends the back of the truck all the way around, locks it down immediately after crossing the line, but it's too little too late. It slams the wall head on. Next up is going to be the NASCAR Xfinity Toyota Supra. Just now coming to line up on the grid. Now this is a car that might be able to give that ARCA machine a run for its money here. Lined up on the grid and starting to let the breaths go, and away we go for more stock car action. Only one more stock car for this, and that is going to be the NASCAR Cup Series Ford Mustang. But the Supra now throwing its way through these corners. This should be a fairly quick run here in comparison to that truck. The Supra wrangling 650 horsepower underneath it, weighing 3,450 pounds. 50 pounds more than the truck, but already you can tell much, much smoother as well through these corners. And blazing down the hangar straight. It's got the top end speed. It's actually got a higher top speed even than the Corvette down that straightaway. The problem is that it does not have any of the cornering speed to match. These cars handle like bricks in the corners. They do not want to turn a bit. When they want to turn, they turn too much. Oh, lock up there. That could send him wide here down into the final chicane, but he gets it slowed down in time. Now on the loud pedal, don't be too aggressive here. Don't give it quite so much of a bootful. He is going to give it a bootful, though. Slides out wide, really wide now, almost into the sand trap, but across the line for the Toyota Supra, and that is going to set it down. A 117.881, 3/10 up from the ARCA Menards Chevrolet Impala. Final stock car now on the schedule is the NASCAR Cup Series Ford Mustang. Now this thing is a lot better equipped for road course racing, and I expect this is the one that might give that Monte Carlo late model a run for its money here, and might try to even top that as well. It's definitely going to go faster than the touring car, I can tell you that much. So we'll have to wait and see how this could play out. It could even threaten the DB9's time if it could go quick enough, but off and away. Now, of course, the DB9 did have that spin, so if we take that into account as well, then this car could have a threat for the overall time. Really twitching. Look, you see how much it was twitching all the way down the straight. This guy's dedicated, still stepping it out all the way through turn 1, now up through 2, still stepping the back end out. This guy is absolutely wanting to go for it here. He wants to beat that late model through Village. And now down back through the loop, up from the late model by a couple tenths of a second here. It has the chance, and now this is where it's really going to gap that late model. He's here all the way down this long straightaway, going to be approaching upwards of 160 miles an hour by the time it hits the braking zone for Stowe. Now hard on the brakes, and a little bit of front end hopping up there, but still secured, so gonna slide it down now all the way down the Vale Hill to the final chicane. Gonna get so close to the curves, but just barely keeps away from nicking them. Great drive off the corner as well, so through the final corner at Club, he's gonna try to keep his foot down in here, sliding sideways across the line. It is gonna be beaten by the late model by about 7/10 of a second. That will wrap up stock car action, and now we can focus up on cars that want to contend for the top spots here on the timing boards. And the Chevrolet Corvette C6.R GT1 with the 107.682 is the time to beat. This car up here is going to be the Audi R8 LMS, one of several GT3 machines that are coming out here today. About 5 or 6 GT3 machines that are coming out here to play today. This could be a very, very quick run. away we go for the GT3 machines now, and these cars, they're the ones that can make it count. Now, this Audi here at Silverstone has a tendency to be a bit oversteery, so we could see a couple bobbles that could really hamper its run. We'll have to wait and see. So far, looking pretty smooth here all the way through Village. I think the driver right now is taking it nice and steady on that car. He knows how unsettled this car can get, especially over some of the bumps here. It's very center-based, so I think he's trying to just take it easy here and make sure he can get the car back in one piece. If you crash one of these things, they are very expensive. Corvette still showing ahead in this portion of the track, so it's even faster a little bit through these corners, and it's even faster as it's showing here through Stowe, as there is a timing sector right in the middle of that corner. In the run down to the last chicane, though, can the Audi manage to somehow reel it back? Don't think he's going to be able to. He's going to be off here by just over a second, I'm thinking. And through Club, going to take it across the line here just now, a 1:10.030, 2.3 seconds off of the pace. We'll see if the BMW M4 GT3 can give it another shot. The M4 now going to line it up into the beams. And away we go. The BMW M4 GT3, the newest GT3 machine out there on the iRacing service, or one of the newest GT3 machines out there on the iRacing service currently, still in its prototype stage, I believe. Slinging it through the Village and getting the back end unsettled there a little bit on the entry to the loop. It is already up, though, on the Audi by quite some margin, about a second already gapped on that Audi, so this is on a flyer. This could very well be the car that could give that Corvette GT3 a huge shot here for the top step of the podium. And I tell you what, that Corvette is looking on nervously, because at this point, that car could stay out there for some time. That is right now the benchmark time for all of these GT3 cars out there. Down for the Village chicane, slicing and dicing it through past the sausage curbs. Gonna come now through Club, and this is going to be close to the line. It's not enough, though. Just over 0.4 of a second off of the overall time leader of the Corvette C6.R GT1. So the 1:07.682 still stands. Time for the McLaren to give it a shot. The McLaren MP4-12C. Gonna line it up to the beams, and this is gonna be one car to watch. Watch the back end as it launches off the line here. You should get a pretty unique view here. If you can find a view of it when it's downshifting in particular, you'll be seeing the flames spitting out the back end of that car. It is such a lovely sight to see, especially in the dark. Won't see anything potentially here. Saw a bit of flames there for that angle. We got to get a shot of it when it's just perfectly just dicing its way through these corners from the rear, because that will show you the flames spitting out in full. You can see how much flames are shooting out the back already. But gosh, does this machine, it might not be the fastest of the GT3s, but it looks beautiful. Up towards Stowe, down the hangar straight. This will not be enough, I don't think, to beat the Corvette's time, or even the BMW's time. There is a beautiful shot there, the flames spitting out of the back end of the car, the exhaust, as it slices its way through the Club chicane. And now out around that final bend to the line, 1.6 seconds off. A 1:09.313. That wraps out another 10 cars, 20 cars complete. Let's take another look now at the top 10 results so far here in this event. The Chevrolet Corvette C6.R GT1 is still at the top of the boards, but it's a new runner in second, the BMW M4 GT3, now about just over a second behind with a 108.119, 4/10 off. The McLaren MP4-12C GT3 hot on the heels with a 109.313, then comes the Audi R8 LMS with a 110, so 3 GT3 machines rounding out second, third, and fourth. The 4GT GT2 holds on to the top 5 spot for now. A Holden SB Commodore V8 supercar sits in 6th, with the Cadillac CTS-V race car still in 7th. The Aston Martin DB9 GT1 after a spin is in 8th. The NASCAR Cup Series Ford Mustang, fastest of the stock cars, is up to 9th in the standings, with the Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS late model still in the 10th position with a 117.450, dumping the touring car out of the top 10. So next up is going to be the BMW Z4 GT3, an older version of that BMW. The question is, will the old version be able to be as fast as the new version? The new version was only about 4/10 off of the Corvette in its top time. We'll have to see where this the older Z4 will be sitting here on the grid. It's a GT3 machine that is not used today. Bumps himself into the starting beams as we get set for the 21st pass of the day. Off and away, and you can just hear the growl of that BMW. It just sounds like an absolutely gorgeous thing as it flies up towards turn number 1, about flat out through turn number 1. Really committed. That Z4 wanting to beat the M4 if possible, but it might be a bit of an ass. That M4 has got a lot of power underneath it, and on paper, it should be the faster car. Stepping the back out a little bit as it goes through through the loop, down the hangar straight, and through the DRS zone, which we will be seeing used once later today by a McLaren MP430 with the DRS capabilities. Now up to Stowe, deep on the brakes, already well behind the M4 GT3. Will not be beating its time, but will definitely be good enough to run for a top 10 spot. Dives it off into the chicane, doing a great job like its competitors here to miss those curbs. You definitely do not want to hit those in one of these cars. Across the line, it is going to be 1.7 seconds slower than the current leader in the Corvette GT1, a 109.379. So, onto a car that is not traditionally in the Cup, in the GT3 category, but has been looped in here for today. The Porsche 911 GT3 Cup. Now, this car does not drive like any of the other GT3 machines, so this should be a much more different run, I think it's worth saying. Revs starting to build inside this machine. Expect a little bit of wheel spin here from this Porsche off the line. Not a lot of wheel spin at all, actually. That surprised me. I thought we would have been seeing quite a bit there out of the gate. But as it gets set for 1, still no dramas in the 911 GT3 car. There are a couple of there is a couple of Porsches in this one. There's going to be a 911 RSR coming up later today, a GTE machine, followed by a Porsche 919 PLMP1 car further towards the end of this towards the end of the day. Throwing its way here down through these corners. It's this could be a pretty tight run here. Struggling for grip as he tries to get that power down. And through the final chicane, can he get it done? Can he hang on to it? Is going to be the important factor. Oh, no, he cannot! Spins the back end and full 360 loop, but he keeps it going. Very, very impressive there for the Porsche, who is going to be out of this one effectively. Definitely a very slow time, a 1:11 for him, just a few tenths up from the V8 supercar, but wow. Full 360 spin across the line. Great job to hang on to that one. Up next is going to be a Mercedes AMG, a GT3 machine. Now, there was going to be a Roof RT12, but there were some difficulties, and the RT12R will not be making an appearance today as previously thought. So we're down to 51 cars now in the running. So the Mercedes AMG GT3 picks up the spot, and I expect this one will be one of the faster of the GT3 cars. It is very good here in a short run. And now the revs will start to build. And away we go. The Mercedes AMG GT3 are one of the more classic cars, and definitely one that up until recently was a staple car to be using in the iRacing IMSA, or the online iRacing IMSA Sports Car Championship. And now doing its best to try to show these guys up in the GT3 category down through Village. Question is, where will it face up in relation to everybody else? It's already quicker than the Audi. It's faster than the McLaren. Faster than both BMWs. The M4 just a hair behind. This Mercedes could very well threaten the Corvette. It is starting to threaten the Corvette's time here as it throws its way through Stowe. This will be a very close pass here. He could potentially get the lead away, and we could see the Corvette's time finally crumble here as the Mercedes AMG GT3 throws its way through this final corner. Gonna get it done, though, through Club. One more corner to go. The Mercedes AMG coming across the line. This will be a close one, but it is still not enough. The Corvette's time still stands 0.2 of a second off. Good grief. That will throw us into some more single-seaters this time round. The USF 2000, the first of a series of single-seaters coming up here. Now, the single-seaters are going to be the cars here that initially will not have a lot of grip, but will take center stage in the final act. The USF 2000, the first step on the ladder of the road to Indy. You go from the USF 2000s to the Indy Pro 2000s, a car also making an appearance today. Then you go to Indy Lights, and then the Indy cars, and 3 types of Indy cars making appearances tonight. But for now, the USF 2000 will be the one to start off the single-seater campaign. And he's stalled. Problems with the 64 machine on the line here at the USF 2000. Looks like he just now got the car refired, and the revs are going to start to build. Now he's off and away. In relation to the last single-seater we had with the Skip Barber Formula 2000, this car will be at least 12. I would expect it to be roughly about 12 seconds quicker. But this will definitely not be enough to compete against the Corvette C6.R GT1. The GT1 just has too much top-end speed. This car might have the cornering speed, but it does not have the straight line speed in order to get that Corvette done. It doesn't even really have the cornering speed. It's just too slow in general. Up through still. These are small little machines, too. They are definitely not really big, and this wide track really shows just how small they are. Out through Stowe and down now for that final chicane. Oh, little of a clip there of the sausage curbs. Not something you want to do in the USF 2000s. Now off of that corner and going to be across the line. It is going to be a 110.228 for the USF 2000. Continuing on down the line, the Pro Mazda, that is the old Star Mazda. Gonna be up next. These used to be running in the Pro Mazda Championship before the Indy Pro 2000 PM18 took over. But the Star Mazda makes a return here, and it will be going up against the Indy Pro 2000. So we're about to see here, truly, which one of these guys is the quicker. Is it the Star Mazda, or is it the Indy Pro 2000? The Star Mazda off and away. There are a couple of passes between those two cars. So we'll have to see just which one of those will be the triumphant victor in this little Mazda battle. Already significantly quicker than the USF 2000, though, braking for Village. This car has a tendency to be very loose on entry. You saw a little bit of a twitch there, sent that car wide through Village, but he's done a good job to recover nicely. And now the Star Mazda blasting its way onto the hangar straight. This thing is lean, it is mean, and boy, it is quick for its size. It's one of those few cars that can really make up a lot of ground just because of how light this thing is. Only 248 horsepower, but it only weighs about 1,320 pounds, making it one of the lightest cars that you could possibly find in the single-seater category. Down for the club chicane. No clipping of the sausage curves this time around, and understandable why. You clip those curves, that thing's going around for sure. Across the line, though, the Star Mazda beats out the USF 2000 by a solid 2.2 seconds. 108.221. And that is about 0.7 of a second shy of the overall leader right now in the Chevrolet Corvette C6.R GT1. Up next, the Formula Renault 2.0. Now this, despite looking fast, not so much. It's got a top speed of about 145 miles an hour. 7-speed transmission. It's an introduction. It's another good introduction car to open wheel race, if you ask me. You go for the Skip Barbers. This is the next place to go, is the Formula Renault 2.0 Championship. This is the first true open wheel car, I want to say, that you can find out there. The first true single-seater car. The Skip Barber Formula 2000, really something else. You can't really compare these two or any car to the Skip Barber. But I suspect that this car might be right between the USF 2000 and the Star Mazda that we just saw run. It's got a lot faster cornering speed than the USF 2000, but it does not have the top-end speed that the Star Mazda has. So down the hangar straight, the car will cycle up through the gears as it gets set to figure out where exactly it's going to sit. This could potentially be faster than one of the GT3 machines as well through here. It's already a little bit quicker than the Audi. And down into the club chicane, back down through the gears. So close, just tempting fate with those sausage curves right there on the entry. Now blasted back out through club across the line. It's a 109.744, faster than the Audi R8 LMS by about a quarter of a second. Up next, a car that we expect is going to be the fastest here in the first of the open single-seater kind of categories here. There are two categories. There's the Open Wheel 2 and Open Wheel 1. This we suspect will be the fastest car in Open Wheel 2, and this will be the one that surely has to shatter the Chevrolet Corvette C6.R GT1's time. That time has really stood for several passes, and no doubt this Dallara Formula 3 will be ready to shatter that one. Revs are building, off and away we go! The F3 getting set to rumble away, and this is going to be a very quick run here. This is where we can start to see just how fast these cars are getting from the Pontiac Solstice at the start of the day. Starting to get really committed for turn 2. Oh, bit of a bobble there. Oh no, big loose time. Slides out, and that's going to be hard into the wall, and big crash there between turns turns 2 and 3. Gonna cut right to a replay of that one. That was a tremendous impact there. The biggest crash we've had on the day so far. That Dallara F3 is destroyed and will not be set into time. So take a look at this here. Right there, it twitches a little bit. That kind of swings him out wide. He's still loose and just overcorrects it. Try to keep his foot in and overcorrected. That sent the car all the way around, full 360. I don't think he realized he was headed for a barrier. So he tries to put his foot on it to recover it, and then realizes he's headed for a barrier. So he locks it down again, but it's too late and slams that wall. Just destroys that car. Violent accident here at Silverstone on what was supposed to be the fastest pass so far today. Now, all of our onboard car, our single-seater cars, excuse me, are equipped with onboard cams. So let's take a look at this. This is from the very start of his run. Watch him cycle up through the gears up into 5th here in a 6-speed transmission. Flat out through 1. Right there, twitches once, twice, away he goes. And oh, wow. Yeah, he had no idea it was headed to the barrier until it was too late. And that is such a huge hit. Well, that means it's down to the Indy Pro 2000, and this car, the Indy Pro 2000 PM18, has two cars that it's contended with here. It's competing with the Star Mazda, its predecessor in the Pro Mazda category, and it is also competing with the Chevrolet Corvette C6.R GT1. It may very well beat out the Mazda. Not so sure, though, about that Corvette. That Corvette has been really quick. Away we go. Very committed through turn 1 and showing no fear through turn 2 either, despite the crash that happened there just one pass ago. Deep on the brakes, already up by a couple of tenths on that Star Mazda. It is looking settled here to get this battle done and dusted with the Star Mazda, showing why it is now on top of the Star Mazda. That predecessor car is just nothing in comparison. The PM18 so quick down the hanger straight, faster as well by just the smallest of margins for the GT1. Faster through the turns too. It's got the aerodynamic capabilities. It can definitely get this one done. It is definitely going to beat the Star Mazda, no doubt about that. It's already over a second up from that Star Mazda, so through that chicane for the final time today. Can it come on out, and can it beat the Corvette? And it's 1:07.682 time across the line. It is going to be a new best on the day. The Indy Pro 2000 PM18 to the top of the boards with a 1:07.176, half a second up from the Corvette. And finally, the mighty Corvette's time has fallen. But that PM18 is not safe, because take a look at what's rolling up next. A Radical SR8. These things are monstrous. They are quick. They can corner quick, and they have got a lot of straight line speed with them. The Radical wasted no time getting off in the way. Bit of wheel spin there from the Radical SR8 as it dives its way down towards turn 1, cycling down through the gears so quick off of the initial launch, faster than the PM18 to the run down towards that first corner. This Radical SR8 is showing what it can do, and it could very well have a significant shot here going to the top of the boards. The time's now started to drop rapidly. Radical screaming his way down the hanger straight. Now braking hard for Stowe, trying to carry as much speed as he possibly can through. Runs a little bit wide into the curbing, but so far no hard, no foul. Down for that final chicane. Don't clip the curves. Barely keeps it off. Now flicks it right back to the right and gonna take this one out through the corner. To the line. Got him. The Radical SR8 down to the top of the boards by just about a tenth of a second. 0.382, the official margin. Still is not over, though. Now it's the Ferrari's turn to try to come out into play. The only Ferrari so far today, before we go to our next quick break to take a look at the stand, is the Ferrari 488 GTE machine. It's time for the GTEs to have their fun here today. And now this could be very well one of the fastest. This could actually be that fastest GTE machine that we see on the day. And in fact, that is what it's estimated to be. This car will be the fastest on the day. Look at how quick it flies through turn number 1. They're almost faster than the Radical, and it is just so committed in its run here down to Village. And even locks up on the right front big time on the entry. Really scrubs off a lot of speed there, but the Ferrari doing a phenomenal job here and keeping things steady so far. That 488 GTE machine. Clipping the grass a little bit in exit, but so far still running strong. Down on the brakes. Through Stowe. This might be close. Coming down now. Through that final chicane. Can it get it done? This will definitely be a close one here. Across the line. And he gets it done by just over a tenth of a second. The Ferrari 48 GTE to the top of the timing boards. And that means that our good old friend, the Chevrolet the Radical SR8, excuse me, is down to the second position. Down in third place is the Indy Pro 2000 PM18. The Chevrolet Corvette C6.0 GT1, which stood at the top of the boards for so long, has been bumped down to fourth. The Mercedes AMG GT3, fastest of the GT3 runners, is sitting in fifth at the moment with the BMW M4 GT3 in sixth. The Star Mazda is in seventh with the McLaren MB4 12C GT3 in eighth. BMW Z4 GT3 and another single seat of the Formula Renault 2.0 down into 10th position, nearly 4 seconds off of the pace of the Ferrari 48 GTE at the top of the timing boards. And so we move things on with some more GTE action. This time the BMW M8 GTE going to be taking it around the circuit. And this is bound to be a good one. The GTE machines have a tendency to be able to race a lot closer than the GT3 machines, so as the revs build, we'll see if the times are anywhere close to that Ferrari's, which currently sits at the top of the boards. Could this BMW threaten for the title? There are a couple of other GTE machines that need to go. You also got a Corvette C8.R GTE up next, and then a Ford GTE followed by a Porsche 911 RSR, but the BMW through the first couple of corners, and so far it is looking very, very steady. Although a little bit slower than the Ferrari out of the gate, it would seem. Clipping the curb a little bit, stepping the back end down a little bit as it throttles its way down through the loop. But so far, still pretty steady. The big boy BMW taking up a bit of the track there as it slings its way up the hill to Stowe. And even yet, these times are going to be shattered before the end of the day when these times start to break into the sub-minute times. Down to the race for the final chicane. Kind of nice and tight, clips the curbing and saves the car. Manages to hang on to it, but that has actually put a bit of damage on the right front of the GTE across the line, about a second slower than the Ferrari. But you can see that right front not looking very pretty. It has been dented in, and he might have to pull. I think he's going to pull it off here a little bit. No doubt, quite a bit of damage to the undercarriage of the car as a result of that. That is mighty unfortunate. Take a look at the replay. Look at the launch. He got so much air when he rammed over the curb and came down really hard, too. That's the more concerning part, was how hard that car came down. Well, next up is going to be the Chevrolet Corvette, not the C6.0, this time the C8.R GTE. Into the timing beams. And we're off. The bright yellow Corvette looking very, very stylish out there, diving through turn number one, still about foot to the floor. Now braking for Village, the first major braking zone on the circuit. Oh, hits the curves again, just like the BMW. It's a very risky thing to do, is really clipping those curves. A couple of the GT machines haven't dared to do it. Look at that, skirting into the grass on the left side of the track. He is committed, trying to get that time. He is right on the heels of that Ferrari. We could potentially see a swap for the lead here in the event if that Corvette could get a couple of bit more speed down here out of that final chicane, but it is right behind the Ferrari. And this could potentially be very, very close. Oh, wide throw through the first part of the chicane. That's not good, though, for the Corvette's time. So out through Club. Gonna come across the line here. Not enough. About a tenth behind still. The Americans, though, are not done trying it out because it's Ford. Up next, the Ford GT GTE. going to be coming up next to the boards. The Corvette was close. Could the American Power in the Ford GT potentially have a run? Lines it up perfectly right there, and now, once again, the revs build. And launch. No wheel spin, all clean for the Ford. Definitely what you want to see here is a nice clean start like that. So through turn 1, up for 2, then brake for village. Oh, lock up there on the right front. That might send that Ford a little bit wide, but no, he's kept that up pretty nicely. He's also going to clip the curbs. Oh, he's real loose, though, and sliding off head-on into the barrier in the loop. That is going to put a premature end. The Ford will not have a run at the time. Clipping the curb just went too far. We saw the last 2 drivers in the GTE fields do that, and the Ford just got too unsettled by it. And he is also going to be pulling this one off to make room for the 911 RSR, which is just now starting its outlap. Let's take a look at the replay. He just goes in and he just clips the curb, and that unsettles the car. You can see the back end starting to come around. It's still bouncing around, and now it enters the bumpiest section of track, and that just exasperates the situation. And now there's no saving it. You can see he knows there's no saving it, so he locks it down big. But Sandtread does next to nothing, so he crosses the tarmac surface road. Now he's on the grass. He's downhill. The car won't stop, won't stop. The wall stops it for him. Oh, that's a hard lick. Kind of rebounded the car back out to the track, but have pushed it clear. So now the Porsche 911 RSR. What can it do? Can it have something for the Ford? Oh, locked up the brakes there. That will definitely hurt the car. Locked it up, just trying to get it set into time beats. And it's stalled, too. Oh, stalled again, I think. There we go. Now it's bumped into the timing beams, and we're ready to go. No wheel spin from the Porsche 911 RSR either. And will it also be flat out through turn 1? Just about. These GTE machines, they race so well together, and they've been putting on a show for us as well here in this time attack event at the Silverstone International Circuit. Not clipping the curves that time, but he is significantly back already from where the Ferrari is by about 3.5 tenths of a second. I think he's just taking it nice and easy after seeing his competitor, the Ford, drop out from making an easy mistake. So he's just taking it nice and simple here. I think he's just trying to get a respectable time in here in that Porsche 911. Swinging out wide on the exit of the still here. Still has that final chicane. No dramas on entry. No dramas on exit. The Porsche 911 RSR crosses the line. It is a 106.804, or a 1.4, which is a solid 7 tenths of a second behind the leaders. Now it's time to go vintage racing. The Lotus 49. This is the car that we are not expected to be in the top of the boards. If anything, it's more of an exhibition run, but this will be something spectacular to see. The car is not very big, as you can see. It's a good old 60s Formula 1 car, and despite it being an F1 car, definitely not the fastest thing we'll be seeing on the day, but should be seeing quite the show here. Raring to go in the Lotus 49. The revs starting to build. Watch for the wheel spin here. There's going to be a lot of it. Still spinning the wheels, still spinning them, still spinning them. Now it gets the power down proper and blasts off for turn 1. Brakes a bit for the first corner as well, trying to make sure you can make it through there all nice and clean. Look at the back end starting to twitch already as it comes down for Village here. Taking it nice and slow, be nice and careful. That is a very expensive car and kind of a one-of-a-kind thing, too. So the one thing you don't want to do is wreck that thing. This is where it could get tight here. Very slow there and still twitching the back end as it thunders now down the hangar straight. Gonna slam the brakes for Stowe now. Slings his way through right on the exit. That kind of compromises the line. And hits the brakes once again, this time for the chicane. Ooh, being a bit brave there with the curbs, even clipping them a little bit. And now he is going to come through the final corner and across the line for the Lotus 49. Very clean run, and it is going to be about 3.6 seconds behind the overall leaders, a 109.689. Vintage racing is not yet done, though. The Lotus 79 now has come to play. This is, I believe, an 80s Formula One car here. And it has a lot more downforce than its 60s companion here, so we could be seeing yet another fly run. This could potentially knock the Ferrari 48 GT off of the top as well. A lot of wheel spin as well from the Lotus 79, but gathers it up nicely. And watch here, you can already tell just how much quicker it is through the opening sections here. That rear wing generated a lot of downforce to keep that thing sticking to the track. No dramas through the loop. Thundering down the hangar straight up to Stowe under the Johnny Walker Bridge. So now this will be the time for sure that Shirley has got to just blitz these guys here. Hitting the brakes for that final corner. Not clipping the curbs like we saw the 49 doing. Keeping it nice and tidy here. Out through club. This will definitely be a new best time. Beats the Ferrari by 1.3 seconds. We have a new leader at the top of the boards, and it's a vintage Formula One car, but one more vintage car to go, and this one will most certainly best the Lotus 79 by some margin. It is a Nissan GTP ZXT. The old LMP Le Mans runner running its way now towards the timing beams out through that final chicane. Like the 79, this car generates a lot of downforce, but unlike the 79, it also has a lot of straight line speed in it too. This thing has been hitting up to speeds of 185 miles an hour, coming up towards Stowe, still spinning the wheels, and you can saw how twitchy it was off the line. This car is a flyer. Has a lot more straight line speed, of course, than the Lotus 79, and brakes hard for Village, and manages to get through with no dramas just yet. Down for Stowe, and these cars now hitting speeds of 180 plus miles an hour. Up for Stowe, now slamming onto the brakes and twitching the back end still as it tries to throw its way through Stowe, now down towards that club chicane. Hard on the brakes, flames spitting out of the exhaust pipes as it dives away through. Bit deep through the first part of the chicane, but it's still going to definitely blitz the Lotus 79's time. Going to come across the line 3.5 seconds quicker than Nissan GTP up to the top. Now we're going to go up to at least semi-modern racing here, the Riley MKXX Daytona prototype. It is only prototypes and single-seaters from here to the end. So this is where the fast cars really start to come out, where we'll start to see some of those sub-1 minute times come in. The Riley is going to be down, and I do apologize that we got a bit of audio mixing issues here. We'll get those sorted for you ASAP, but the Riley MKXX Daytona prototype off and away. Can it beat the Nissan, though? I don't think it will be able to. I think that Nissan will still be ahead by some margin. Down for Village. Back and twitching and comes around on him, and the Riley spins out in turn number 3. Stalls the car, has got to get refired. He's already gotten it back up. And does he abandon the run or does he keep going? Well, judging by how vigorous he got into the pedal there, I think he's wanted to keep this going here. He wants to salvage whatever he can. And that is exactly what he's doing, but definitely will be nowhere close to beating the Nissan this time round. Deary me. Down for that chicane. This is going to be a long way back. But the Riley, unfortunately, comes across the line. It is a 1:15.314. That is sitting just between the Aston Martin DB9 and the NASCAR Cup Series 4 Mustang. Take a look at the replay here of the spin that he had in Village in turn 3. The back end was coming away before he even started to turn in. I think it was just getting loose on the braking, and when he spun out, he just, oh man. That's a shame. That car is quick too. It's been quick all practice today, and well, now it's gonna find itself in a rather different place. Up next, the newest of the Daytona prototypes, the Chevrolet Corvette C7 DP. Now, this is not the newest prototype on the servers, but it is the newest actual dedicated Daytona prototype out there. And it is also off and away a very growly thing, this machine. This, I don't think, will be enough to beat the Nissan either. The Nissan is already well up on where that Corvette is. So, oh, lock up there from the right front. So he is still wanting to push here. Pounds over the curbs at Village. The first time I've seen anybody do that. A bit daring, but no dramas apart from that. Trying to use that car's aerodynamic properties to get as much speed as he possibly can through the tight turns in the loop. It'll all matter, though, up here through Stowe. Yeah, the Nissan's going to have it by a long shot. And even that's even with the Corvette running wide, too, with this boot in it. The Corvette C7 just doesn't have the speed to really match the old-timers of the Nissan GTP ZXT. So across the line and 4 seconds slower. Yikes. That Nissan is really something out there. Now this is where it gets interesting. Whoa, hello! Well, our next car, the Formula No 3.5, has just spun on the warm-up lap. A bit eager then. Potentially a bad omen for his run too, though. So the Formula No 3.5 is going to line it up at the starting beams. Right there, blocks it in perfectly. This is the car that could really have something for that Nissan. It doesn't have the top-end speed that the Nissan has. It has a lot higher cornering speed, and that is what's going to make all of its timers in this first half and this first sector and the last sector as well. So, through turn 1, already flat out and still up a little bit from the Nissan GTP. Braking for Village and already quicker as well than the Nissan here through the Village hairpin into the loop. Still no drama so far. Now they're both going to open up the taps. This is where the Nissan's time is going to run down that of the Formula Renault 3.5. Under the Johnny Walker Bridge, down the hangar straight. Heading up for Stowe. Once again, the Renault 3.5 will be able to do it here, but that Nissan is ahead now. The 3.5 will be trying to run him down here as we come up to the final series of corners. Can it get the speed that it needs? Flicking to the right, then left, then back to the right. Now out through club. Final corner. This is going to be really close and not enough. 59 thousandths of a second. The Nissan beats the Renault 3.5 out by. The Nissan GTP ZXT still at the top of the boards, with the Formula Renault 3.5 down in second. The Lotus 79, a classic car, in third. So classic car sitting in first and third position. The Chevrolet Corvette C7 Daytona prototype is in fourth. The Ferrari 488 GTE is still sitting in 5th, very impressive, with the Corvette GTE in 6th. The Radical SR8 is sitting in the 7th position, still with the 911 RSR in 8th. The BMW M8 GTE is in 9th, the 80 Pro 2000 PM18 sitting in the 10th position. Back to prototype action. Now it's time for the LMP2s. There are 2 of them. The HPD ARX-01C and the Dallara P217. There will be another LMP1 machine between them, the Audi R18, which should set the fastest time of the day. But this HPD right now getting set to show these guys what this LMP2 machine is made of and trying to see if it can now go towards the top. We're off. The HPD is personally one of my favorite cars to drive here in the service. This thing is so stable, but it is so quick as well. So nimble, this car. It looks beautiful, too. It's a bit of a shame that... Well, granted, the P217 race is much better here than the HPD. I'll give it that. The P217 race is a lot better, but still, this HPD is a thing of beauty, and it's a shame that it had to go and we don't have it running anymore in any series. Clipping the grass a little bit, but now thundering down the hanger straight up to Stowe. Throwing its way in. This is where things could potentially get tight here between the 2 LMP2 machines is in this final chicane here. Oh, deep for the HPD. That's going to hurt the time. Will not be enough here to beat the Nissan. The Nissan's time will still stand by some margin. The HPD does come across, though, with a 2 seconds back, excuse me, which is still just over a second behind the Formula Renault 3.5. About 2 seconds back, excuse me. Up next, the Audi R18. The first of 2 LMP1 machines. Now this will definitely be setting a new a new best time of the day. It will be the new benchmark time to beat as well. Trying to just bump its way out there. Looks like that's where it's going to be content with. A little bit of wheel spin, but so far still good for the Audi R18. This growly LMP1 machine is going to throw its way now up for that first corner. This thing is blindingly fast. One of the fastest closed wheel machines there is out there. And very smooth as well. As you can see, this thing is absolutely handles like a dream. Now it's going to open up the tabs. Over 180 miles an hour, nearing 190, over 190 now. As it slams the brakes for Stowe and goes straight on the track and head on into the barrier. Big crash. They're going to cut right to a replay. Just locked the brakes up immediately on corner entry. And panic brakes, I think from there, just couldn't get it stopped. Can't turn either. So he just slams the brakes, and now all 4 tires are locked up. The fronts are rolling, though. It's bouncing across the ground. That thing is not going to slow down. That's 190 miles an hour into the sand trap and hard into the barrier there. Bounces the car back. The Audi R18, a car set to be our new best time, will not be making its run. The Dallara P217 is now up. Now this is where things can get really fun as well here, is with this P217. So, what can the newer LMP2 machine do, and where will it sit in comparison to the HPD? That's going to be the big ticket question. Again, the Dallara P217 will not be fast enough to challenge for the top spot. Won't even be able to beat the Formula Renault 3.5, I don't think. It's really only here to compete against the HPD. So far up by about 0.2 of a second here is the Dallara P217. as it dives its way out of the loop and onto the hangar straight. The aerodynamics on the Dallara here make it so that it can corner so much better than the HPD. Not personally my taste. I still prefer to drive the HPD, but it is undeniable that this Dallara P217 is definitely going to be quicker. Taking a bit of a less than optimal line there through the club. Oh, stepping the back end out as well as it comes through club, but it is still 6/10 up on the HPD and third place so far on the timing sheets. Up now for their IndyCar collection. And the first of those runners-up is the Dallara IR05, the 2011 IndyCar. This could be the first of the times to really break the 1-minute barrier. So now the question is, what is going to happen here? What will happen between these runners? Look at how fast that thing is as it's blazing. It's already up by about a second here on the Nissan GTP. This will be quick. This will definitely be quick. Through Stowe, the lap is already over about as fast as it's begun. No doubt about it, this IndyCar is going to be faster than the Nissan GTP. An open wheel single-seater is going to be up at the top of the boards. The Dallara IR05 takes the top of the boards with a 58.157. Absolutely demolishes the Nissan's time. The second of 3 Indy cars is going to be up next. The Dallara DW12 this time. The 2012 specifications for IndyCar. The last of the IndyCar runners will be the Dallara IR18. Which is, of course, the newest model of IndyCar there is on the circuit at the moment. Locking itself in. The DW12 revs it up, and it is going to be underway. A lot of wheel spin there for the DW12, but the car deals with it nicely. Down into Village, and this car is just absolutely running strong here. It is doing a phenomenal job out there on the track, trying to take away the top spot from the IR05, trying to prove that newer is better. The DW12 in almost every situation is faster than the IR05. We're expecting it to be the same here today as it breaks for Stowe and throws away through with about the same speed here as the Formula 2 car. And now coming in here for the club chicane. Going to come on out across the line. It's going to be significantly faster. Over 2 seconds quicker than the IR05. And as the Dallara IR18 starts to come on up to make its run, well, I'm going to take a step back because this car sounds like a beauty. And I'm just going to take a step away from the mic here and let you listen to the run in full. across the line. It is a 1:2:20, so 2 seconds slower than the Aero 5. The iR18, a disappointing run from him, must have not have liked something about that car, because the iR18 should have completely demolished the Aero 5's time, just like the DW12 did. It should have been comparable with the DW12. But now, this is the final closed wheel car that will make it its run of the day. The Porsche 919. This is the car that could potentially have a big upset in things. We are away for what is the fastest closed wheel car on the service. Throwing its way through turn one completely flat out. This driver absolutely fearless as it throws its way up through Village. It's so quick there as well. Runs wide on the exit of Village. I thought it was a bit too quick, and there clips the curbs as well at the entrance to the loop. Dedicated in the 919. And now blazing down the straightaway here. The hanger straight up towards Stowe. You're going to watch just how much grit this car has into this corner here. Look at how fast it carries the speed, even though it runs a little bit wide. Still does it very nicely. Breaking for the club chicane. Will this beat the DW12's time? That's a stupid question. Of course it will. Coming now out through club and across the line. It is a 1.2 second gap between the two of them. The 919 to the top of the boards. It is not over though. Time for Formula One racing here. The McLaren MP430. Going to be the first of the Formula One cars to take to the grid. There are 2 real Formula One cars and 1 fictional open wheel car that will be taken to the circuit. The McLaren MP430 though, trying to defend. Modern F1's on it from the hybrid era. Building the revs. And off in the way. Bit of wheel spin there. And manages to deal with it nicely. DRS open. Down towards turn 1. Now it clamps shut again as it slides its way through 1. Trying to get the extra bit of speed that it needs to potentially come out on top here and win the competition outright. Can that DRS actually win the McLaren MP430 this competition? We'll have to wait and see here. Throwing its way now through the loop. The DRS is going to open up wide again, giving it a lot of extra straight line speed and acceleration. All the way down the straightaway. Sparks flying as the car bottoms out up to Stowe. The DRS slams shut as the car flies its way through Stowe. And now coming up for the club chicane. Sparks still flying as it slams deep on the brakes. Not too deep into the chicane. That was a beautiful run there from the MP430. So, gonna come across the line here. Out through club. The car spins! He spins across the line. Slams the tire barriers in the front straightaway. Spins back in front of the track. But it is still gonna be a new best regardless. As we go to the replay, the time, 1.6 seconds up on the 919. It's a 55.47. The car just started to get loose on the exit of club. And driver just overcorrected. Spun across the line. Immediately locked the brakes down. But body slammed the tire walls there with the side pod on the left, and then tried to get a boot in it. I think tried to kind of push the throttle down just so we could try to get back onto the track and not lose a lot of momentum and stall the car. But or have anti-stall kick him, but spun back out to the track instead, giving too much. On board for the wreck. Look at the wheel twitching there, and you can see as he's shifting up through the gears right there. Just there's almost no time to react to that. Up next, the Dallara IR01. This is a fictional car by iRacing, released just a couple of seasons ago. Can it beat the McLaren MP430? This is one of the fastest cars on the service in general, but it is hard to control. 900 horsepower rear-wheel drive. This car takes a lot of effort to drive, so it launches off of the line. We are off and away. The IR1 dicing through turn number 1, almost foot to the floor. This is where it could get dicier, though, is up through Village. Down on the brakes and trying to dart its way through. Doesn't go through there about as quick as the MP430, so already a little bit down on the overall best time. But now it can open up the taps all the way down the hanger straight and really gain a lot of time. It's already passed now the McLaren MP430, but only just. The MP430 has a bit more cornering speed on it. I think it's a lot more stable than the IR1 at the corners. You see how much he's twitching, trying to keep that car under control with the 900 horsepower being sent to the rear wheels beneath him. Turns in early for the club chicane. That's going to hurt his time here as it's forcing to swing out wide. So, across the line for the IR1, back and twitch now, leaving time marks on the track across the line. It is still faster by about 1/10 of a second, exactly 0.096. Still one car to go, though. We have no time to wait around. The Williams FW31, one of the oldest cars in the iRacing service, a 2009 Williams F1 car. Can it beat the newest car in the service? One of the oldest cars, racing one of the oldest. And fighting for all of its glory here, the FW31 locks itself in. And we are ready to see if the Williams FW31 still has its glory and still has its magic beneath it. We're off and away for the final pass of the day. The Williams FW31. Can he get it done? Swinging out wide for turn 1, flat out still through turn 2. Deep on the brakes for turn number 3 at Village. This is the last pass of the day once again, so darting its way now through the loop. This car so nimble, so agile, so quick as well. Onto the throttle we go on the exit of the loop, down the hanging straight for the last time of the day. No DRS on the 2009 Formula 1 car, so we will not have that advantage that the McLaren MP430 had. So braking hard now. Forstow swinging its way through. Just 3 more corners to go. 2 of them in the chicane, 1 of them in the last corner. Down on the brakes for that last chicane. Does not clip the sausage curves. Clean and green out throughout. 1 more corner to manage. It is going to be Klum. Here we come across the line. And he does go fastest on the day. The Williams FW31 beats out the IR1 by an exactly 0.3 of a second. That will close out an incredibly exciting time attack event here at the Silverstone International Circuit. The FW31 gets it done here in Silverstone. Second place is going to be the Dallara IR01. The McLaren MP430 is in third. The Porsche 919 in fourth. The Dallara DW12 in fifth. The Dallara IR05 in sixth. The IR18 in seventh. The Nissan GTP ZXT in 8th, with the Formula 1 3.5 in 9th, the Dallara P217 rounded out the top 10. And as the rest of the results are going to throw themselves on by on your screens there, thank you everybody for taking the time to watch this presentation here today, and we will see you guys hopefully in the next one.